Imam Dhamma Patipandiya Buddhaṃ Pujēmi Dhammaṃ Pujēmi Sanghaṃ Pujēmi. I worship the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha by practicing in accordance with the Dhamma. May this humble offering be accepted. So today we have the opportunity to ask questions if there are any. If anybody has who are present can have any questions or any doubts about what we did in this week from Monday till yesterday. Any clarifications are necessary, you can ask me. Otherwise, we'll then request Deepthi if she has anything to ask.
मेरे पास एक ही सवाल है तो मैं वो पूछ लेती हूँ और किसी और को भी कुछ ख्याल आ जाए, कोई सवाल हो तो फिर वो आगे पूछ लें। सर, तो अभी पिछले कुछ दिनों में हमने अलग अलग टाइप की संज्ञा पढ़ी है या समझी है, तो सवाल ये है कि अनिच्छा संज्ञा और अनभिरति संज्ञा में क्या डिफरेंस है?
अनभिरति संज्ञा का अर्थ जो है, अनभिरति संज्ञा का अर्थ ये है कि सब लोके अनभिरति संज्ञा, सारे लोगों के प्रति या सभी एक्सपीरियंस के प्रति, whichever way you want to put it, सभी एक्सपीरियंस के प्रति एब्सेंस ऑफ डिलाइट, रति का ना होना, अनअभिरति। अभिरति हुआ हैविंग डिलाइट इन इट, उसमें प्रियता जागना, उसमें अच्छा लगना। अब वो उसमें अच्छा नहीं लगता, बिकॉज ऑफ द अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द नेचर ऑफ द एक्सपीरियंस एज अनिच्छा दुखा। नाउ व्हेन जब वो उस तरह का अनुभव परिपक्व होता है, देन फ्रॉम नॉट लाइकिंग इट मूव्स टू डिसलाइकिंग। सो सब संखारेषु अनिच्छा संज्ञा, मतलब उसके प्रति इच्छा नहीं रही। You have a distaste for it. You no longer, it's not a question of liking and not liking, but it's a question of disliking virtually for that. So that happens with the progression of NIBBIDA or progression of anabhirati sanya. जैसे वो develop होगी, then you'll move in that direction. And we can see it from our own experience. If we have certain places, I remember अभी तो 2 साल हो गए उस बात को, I had to go to a mall for buying some specific item from a Samsung shop. So when you enter the mall, suddenly you are faced with beautiful lighting, everything is beautiful, very well lit and very surrounding, so you feel a sense of, liking for that atmosphere in the beginning. But as you move and then you start looking for what you are wanting, you have a specific choice. You're not come here for window shopping. You have a specific thing to buy. So you try to find, because it's so difficult to locate a particular shop. And you go on trying to find out, and then slowly the vibrations of that place begin to impinge on the body. And you can start feeling slightly discomfortable in the whole environment, partly because of vibrations, partly because of air circulation not being so good, it being a closed chamber, and though there is air condition and all that. So if one is sensitive, then you begin to feel. And then as you move around and looking for what you want and you can't find that shop, and then even those things which you are looking pleasant, you don't no longer look pleasant. And then you somehow fast somewhere, वो कहाँ चली गई है वो Samsung की shop, किधर है उधर है, and then I went there and found that whatever I wanted, I had to get some parts. It was available and I purchased. And then by the time it was, I think, half an hour or so, the whole place was virtually impinging on the body. It was producing very strong, unpleasant feelings. And so Then while walking out and trying to find where is the way out, it was complete dislike for that whole atmosphere. We jaldi se jaldi yahan se nikal jao, go to the parking and get out of this place. So within that half an hour or 45 minutes, I could see the change from at entrance, what was the mindset, and by the time I leave, what is the mindset. You can see that. I'm sure it must be happening with many others who are sensitive to the atmosphere and sensitive to the kind of vibrations prevailing in that area. Now, this is not a very small thing, but of course, when you have really practiced, when anicca, dukkha, anatta बहुत strongly and भावित हो जाते हैं, बहुलीकृत हो जाते हैं, then you begin to see the futility of liking, and not only that, it actually can turn toward disliking. Of course, it has to be seen that it doesn't turn towards vibhavatana. So there's a very thin line between disliking and vibhavatana. So it can always switch from here to there, and one has to be aware of it. The basic idea is that the entrapment of the world is no longer there. That is the key thing. So the arising of craving and is no longer there with the same experiences with which earlier craving would have arisen when the insights of anicca, dukkha, anatta were not developed. So that's the way I understand it, that transition from one to another. Does it make sense?
Yes, sir. And anicca sanya?
Yeah, that's the anicca one. That is sabba sankharesu anicca sanya. From anabhirati, you start with liking, you don't no longer like it. You go to the situation where you dislike it. You just want to get out of that place. That whole ambience is no longer not a question of liking it any longer. It's a question of wanting to get out as quickly, as earliest as possible. So the mind actually moves in that direction. If one is sensitive to a place like that where there is strong vibrations of craving and lust and all that in that area. So it's an experience which one can verify.
It's a transition. अनभिरत संन्या से अनिच्छा संन्या में ट्रांजिशन
हो जाता है. जैसे जैसे प्रैक्टिस स्ट्रेंथन होती है, naturally the transition happens in that. From liking a thing and not liking a thing to disliking. There is a difference. Very subtle, but there is a difference. First you like something, then you no longer like it. You are okay with it, but you don't like it. You don't want it at all. Then you actually dislike it. Not that you start hating it and want to throw it away, but there's no tendency of the mind at all to go in that direction. There's a tendency to shrink away from there, to move out from that place. Because it's no longer, it's actually becomes oppressive. The environment seems oppressive. Experientially, it becomes oppressive. Well, at the entrance time, when you're first coming, it seems welcoming and nice atmosphere. And I've noticed it many times. When I'm not able to get the what item I want and I'm searching and shop is not traceable. And then finally you get it and it's okay now. By the time you get it, you want it, you should get out as quickly as possible. There's no longer any wish to stay in that environment.
लाइकिंग एंड डिसलाइकिंग से आप अनिच्छ पर आते हैं।
अनिच्छ से उसको
अनिच्छ से लाइकिंग और डिसलाइकिंग पर आते हैं।
When you जो अनभिरति है वो कैसे जागेगी? You understand and you deeply experience that this experience which is seeming to you to be very pleasant is actually has a root inside it. जैसे वो कहते हैं ना कि वो poison, honey coated poison. That is the example which the Buddha gives in one of the sutras about anger actually. but you can see it for any sensory pleasure also. Right? It is honey tipped, it looks good. But then in due course it changes to displeasure. It shows its characteristics. So when that जब वो हमारा अनिच्च दुख अनात्ता पुष्ट हो जाता है, भावित होता है, बहुलीकृत होता है, then you begin to realize that these experiences of ours in the world, which seem pleasant, which seem chanting and charming, they are actually contained within them the seed of suffering, and they are totally unstable. They are totally without your control. कब आए और कब गए कुछ नहीं मालूम. So then you slowly begin to develop a kind of, you understand कि भाई इसके प्रति लाइकिंग का और इसको इसमें प्रसन्नता देखने का, इसमें सुख देखने का कोई पर्पस नहीं है, बाद में दुखी मिलेगा. So you begin to understand that, and when you understand that clearly, then anavirati begins to develop. And as anavirati becomes more and more strengthened, then you not only see that it is no longer liking, it is actually a disliking for that. You know that even the tendency of the mind to move in that direction is a kind of deviation from state of equilibrium, deviation from a state of peace. So if the mind moves in that direction and you have to bring it back, there is a tension involved in that process. So you begin to see that, yeah, there's a tension involved even in the process of anavirati to some extent. I mean, during the stage of when you're practicing. So when we really develop that, and of course it can easily switch to vibhav tanha and get upset about it and get aversive about it. So, but that is a kind of balancing process which has to happen. That it moves towards vibhav, then pendulum swings to the other end, then you gradually with understanding bring it. No, it's okay. It has its own role for some people, not for me. That's okay. And for me also, it had role, say 20 years ago, but unfortunately there were no mouse 20 years ago, so I can't say it had a role for me. But then, we used to go to CP for buying things and all, feel good about it. So we can see that. And then, of course, it's a question of investigation, more how deeply you can investigate the experience. So as we experience and investigate the experience deeply, and then it goes into, say, aversive mode, then you understand it's a overreaction. Then you bring it back to equilibrium. And for me, it has been many times aversive result of going to a mall, and sometimes people say, "Oh, let's go for having food," and once in a while you go and you start with great hopes and expectations, and the atmosphere there is so extremely, it just kind of bites. At least I feel that. चलो जल्दी खा लो यार, निकलो.
एड्रेस उससे भी होता है ना, वो भी आप चलो निकलो छोड़ो, मतलब वो भी आपको यू आर नॉट फ्री.
Yeah, if it moves to aversion, it again binds you. But if it moves to understanding that this is okay, it's better not to come in there in future. Then you have understanding.
It takes some time. No?
Yeah,
it's not that you just think and everything will go again.
It has to be practiced again and again and again and again. It has to be practiced. It's not a question of all. It is everything. Everything in the life, one has to practice it. And as we know, craving can arise at each and every sense door. हमने शुरू में पढ़ा था ना वो तन्हा कितनी तरह की थी, 6 into 10, 60 kind of places where tanha can arise, where craving can arise, where aversion can arise. So it's a very complex world, which if we are trying to be mindful, it's pretty complex. But then it's okay. You don't have to start searching कि कहाँ पे craving जाग रही है. अनुभव में आ रही है तो we become aware. Once we have known that these are the possibilities where you can get trapped, that's all we have to know. And then अगर जैसे जैसे mindfulness बढ़ती है, we begin to note it. We begin to note it is craving arising towards sound, or not arising, aversion arising towards not able to hear the sound properly. Because ears are now not able to see. For example, for me, seeing has become quite an issue. I keep on changing the spectacles one to another. So you can see that seeing is getting impaired. So you can see how aversion is arising towards reducing ability to see clearly. So when one can see, one can become aware of them, how the tendencies of mind keep on creating aversion and then bring it back to equilibrium. Okay.
Mr. Dhar, I mean, whatever you are saying makes a lot of sense, but sometimes language throws in a spanner. For example, the word dislike. I wish there was a better translation.
मुझे भी कुछ सूझा नहीं.
Because
अनिच्छा का कोई
it is definitely not conforming to equanimity that we want to bring in.
Yeah.
I wish there was a better word.
Yeah. उसमें वहाँ पे उन्होंने जो ट्रांसलेट किया डिस्टेस्ट ट्रांसलेट किया इंग्लिश में, तो मैंने उसको डिस्टेस्ट को डिसलाइक कर दिया.
अरुचि.
एक्चुअली हिंदी में ट्रांसलेशन अरुचि है,
अरुचि होना चाहिए
जो मैंने हिंदी में ट्रांसलेशन किया. अब वो रुचि से क्या शब्द है और अरुचि कितना आप समझ सकते हैं, because these are things of experience rather than of words, isn't it?
I agree.
These are things of experience. That's why I said it can easily border onto the aversion. Then one has to be aware, because the key distinction is, if it is aversion, then it the mind gets upset. And if it is real sabbha sankharesu aniccha sanya, you feel relieved. No, in one case you'll feel relieved, in another case you'll feel upset. Maybe infinitesimal upset, but there will be. So one can always, if one is mindful of the experience, one can find कि aversion जाग गया, अच्छा ये pendulum उधर से रख गया, चलो वापस आ जाओ. And you have to work like that. Words में तो problem है ही. You're very right. There is a limitation of language in describing an experience. That's a real.
ये जब संखारों पे बात आती है अनिच्छा, तो उसमें थोड़ा सा इशू है, क्योंकि there are sankharas like aspirations or chanda, as we call it. Certainly we want to develop those for developing good quality dhammas and discarding them. So I think perhaps you need to expand on this a little bit.
Yeah, okay. When we talk of sankharas, when one is in the, it's a good question, I think, very good question, in the sense that it will help me to give some more thought to this issue. Because in terms of sankhara, in mundane sense, we have wholesome sankhara, unwholesome sankhara. But in the ultimate sense, sabbe sankhara dukkhati. Isn't it? We chant it every day. So we have to see, what does it really mean? How can the sankhara of doing good be a dukkha? Because if it is done with the sense of self, it is a dukkha, it creates dukkha. So, and sankharas are those where sense of self is involved. Chetana, they're primarily chetana, volition is there. The primary sankhara is chetana, which is volition. That's why I call volitional formations. And volition can be accompanied with wholesome mental factors or unwholesome mental factors. But even with wholesome mental factors, when we do, of course, it is a stage of practice of a much higher level, when we have really seen through the unwholesome sankharas totally. There is no unwholesome sankharas arising. Then only we will begin to see the limitations of wholesome sankharas. Otherwise, we will not understand. Otherwise, तो लगेगा कि ये तो अच्छा ही है भाई. We should develop good practices. We should do generosity, acts of kindness, acts of this. That's certainly good. But done as a natural response to a situation, with sati and panya, no sankhara, in a functional chitta. If it is done as a functional chitta, absolutely perfect. Because it is done out of sati and panya. But most of the time it is done out of sense of self. That's how the chetana arises and it becomes a sankhara. If an action is done out of Sati and Panya, it won't be having any Kamma, it won't be any Kamma. It will be functional action which is done. Like the child is in the home, child falls down, he's weeping, you just pick him up and do it and take care of him and comfort him or whatever you do. If it is done with a matter of fact, yeah, this needs to be attended to. Or, oh, it's my child, oh my God, what has happened? My child has got hurt and then I should sleep. And obviously it will make a sankhara out of it. So these are those subtle nuances which we have to really figure to catch up. But that will happen when unwholesome sankharas have been done with. Otherwise, हमें मालूम ही नहीं पड़ेगा.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
ये सर मेरे साथ बहुत होता है जब करुणा नॉर्मली व्यथा में बदलती है तो एक अच्छा संस्कार होता है वो आगे चला जाता है एंड दैट डिस्टर्ब नहीं किसी को आई मीन दुख मतलब गरीबी देखना करुणा आती है फिर व्यथा में बदल जाती है.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, very good example. Yeah.
So I'm struggling with that, but I'm learning through this sessions.
We all have to actually ये सब चीजें practice की है ना तो इनको शब्दों में उतारना बड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता है. तो I can understand. अभी जैसे दीपक जी ने लिख के दिया कि you can call it undesirable. Yeah, that could be one thing. Now the whole idea I was trying to explain it through in words how I actually experience. I don't know whether it could convey it or not. That slowly and slowly, that's why I gave that example of going through a mall, which happened 2 साल पहले की बात याद थी मुझे. I just shared with you that the same place, same environment suddenly starts, slowly and slowly, the impact of it change begins to operate in a manner that from liking, from having taking delight in that, you come to no delight, and then you come to aruchi, uske prati aruchi jaag jati hai. You don't feel good about it at all. So you start feeling uncomfortable in that environment, if I'm to use that word. And that is my practice number of times. I mean, number of observation, number of times I've observed it. Okay, so
Sir,
any other comment or question?
Sir, I have a question, if I can. Sir, this 10 perceptions, whatever we have done till now, 7, you had said even only anicca sanya is more than enough to lead us towards disenchantment.
I didn't hear you clearly.
Can you hear me now,
I
sir?
can hear you, but वो थोड़ी muffled सी आवाज आ रही थी. हाँ, आप बोलो.
अनिच्च संज्ञा, आपने कहा था कि अनिच्च संज्ञा is sufficient for us to lead us towards liberation or disenchantment. If we strengthen the anicca sanya, dukkha and anatta, basic 3 characteristics.
These are 3 basically these 3 characteristics. Yes.
So what I want to understand, sir, in practice, like we have done so many other, like Marnanusati, I can understand, because one, if you're not doing the meditation or not practicing or not being mindful, ये हमें पता है कि धर्म संवेग जगाने के लिए one should practice it. So that is Marnanusati or Ashubha Sanya for other things. Now Anabhirata Sanya is also leading towards distaste towards the entire worldly things, which is equal to Anicca, Dukkha and Anatta, because there is no essence in all this. Or when you gave an example just now of going to a mall, aversion is happening. So while we practice it, how do we need to just keep in mind all this aspect ki, okay, this is like distaste, because it is ultimately what I felt was it is leading towards those 3 things only of Anicca, Dukkha and Anatta.
It is other way around, actually. It is other way around. Those 3 are the fundamental insights. Those 3 are the parts of Sammaditthi. Sammaditthi ka part hoga na anicca, dukkha, anatta, to understand. The issue is that how deep we understand it. That is the point. How deep we understand. If we understand anicca deeply, what does it mean? We see everything, every experience in that light. And then when we investigate, we immediately come to realize that they are. That's why it's an anicca dukkha sanya. Because it is anicca, it is dukkha. So we realize it actually. but we are putting it in words because we are not so perceptive as to be able to come to that conclusion. It doesn't happen automatically. That's the problem which we sometimes tend to feel that it will automatically happen. At least it does not happen with me. I know that for sure. It doesn't happen. If it had to happen automatically, the Buddha did not have to give a discourse on Anatta Lakkhana Samya. The Anatta Lakkhana Sutta was not needed. It would have happened automatically. It doesn't. One has to reflect, one has to investigate, then understand. From anicca, one has to understand it is dukkha. Because so many experiences are pleasant. How do you say pleasant experience is dukkha unless you understand anicca? And then how do you say things are anatta? Because they are dukkha, they are not in my control. They are changing on their own according to laws of nature. So this is how understanding develops. All these things are not to be remembered. Please, they don't have to be remembered. They have to transform our understanding. They are the ways of changing our outlook towards world. They are the ways of sammaditthi. Once you have a right outlook, then you don't have to remember it. Outlook is outlook. This is how we look at the world. It's not that you have to remember all the 10, oh, this is now which one should I apply? No. You have to progressively develop them one by one as a practice, and then they automatically will emerge at the time of practice. Because during practice, initially, you have to really practice properly. Fundamentally, these three, anicca, dukkha, anatta. Once we practice them, because we are not able to penetrate them to the fullest extent, these also are subsidiary things which help. These are subsidiary things. Asubha sanya, ahare, patikul sanya, because we have such strong attachment towards the body, body of the opposite gender. We have such strong attachment because of the biological reasons. Then towards food, we have strong attachment. So then ahare, patikul sanya. Then we tend to become, dismissive. Arey kar lenge, budhape mein karenge, abhi to jawan hai. Then marananusati is possible. So these are the auxiliary practices which by themselves are powerful enough if we practice it. There are at least 4 or 5 more which I have not mentioned at all, which deal with reflection on corpse at different level of decay. No, I didn't want to mention it because it will be pretty difficult for householders to really practice it. And there's a perception of skeleton. So you practice on a skeleton and see that everything is a skeleton surrounded by flesh. Like skeleton है जिसपे flesh लपेटा हुआ है. This is what human beings are, or any sentient being is. Then जो नवसे से कार बम के various decay है, उसकी पूरे एक सूत्र में उनको भी भगवान ने उसमें डाला हुआ है in terms of the sannyas which should be developed. For householders, it will be quite tough to do that. So that's why I'm not mentioning them at all. So what I'm saying, there are specific sannyas which are helpful in specific cases and which are not advisable in the specific cases. If a person has what's called dos charitra, his temperament, his mental tendencies are towards dosha based. Dosh के जो संस्कार हैं वो ज़्यादा हैं. So it's not advised to practice asubha sanya or ahare patikul sanya. They're not advised to practice. So it can create a negative impact on the mind. So we have to be very careful what we have to practice. If one has a lot of fear sankhara, then Varnanusati should not be practiced. Something else should be found, a way of handling that. But anicca, dukkha, anatta are fundamental, which everybody can practice. And then anabhirati sannyas, sarva loke anabhirati is fundamental. You can always practice it. So we have to really carefully see what is the sanya which I should apply. But as अब सब लोग सीख रहे हैं, हम सब लोग सीख रहे हैं, तो धीरे-धीरे अप्लाई करके देखते हैं, प्रैक्टिस करके देखते हैं, थोड़ा, and then we really become adept. Then when you are faced with the situation, you don't have to think that now I should develop this. It does naturally happen because your outlook to the situation has changed and you become so sensitive to the surroundings that immediately it begins to show itself. So that is the beauty of Dhamma-Ditthi. You look at the world differently then you look at it like that. Then you don't have to do anything to undo it. Then you can't look at it in a different manner. Once you see that it is a mirage, then you will not get carried away by it. You know it is a mirage. You may see it and okay. You may see the cars and उनका reflection सड़क पे दिख जाता है, but you know it's a mirage. कोई पानी वानी नहीं है वहाँ. चिंता की बात नहीं है. You know it for sure, finished. So that's the power of Samma Ditti. Once you have that Ditti strongly developed, इसीलिए बार-बार भगवान कहते हैं ना भाविता बहुलीकता. If you develop भावित करो उसको बार-बार develop करेंगे तो it becomes a part of your way of looking at the world. Then there's no issue. Then you know that what it is.
So, sir, Sabbe Loke Anabhirata Sanya is one Sanya is more than enough to look at it because it includes everything in this. Because
yeah, but how will you develop that without anicca, dukkha, anatta?
Okay, so it's like
तो force हो जाएगा ना. You can't. It's not samma vayamo. It's not samma vayamo. Please understand that. We are not doing. We are not changing our way by force. We are changing our way of looking in the basis of understanding. That's the difference. हम force लगा के will power लगा के अपना देखने का नहीं देखो ये unpleasant है ये pleasant लग रहा है और कौन नहीं unpleasant ऐसा नहीं कर रहे.
So what I want to say is, like, when I was reflecting pehle, like we used to reflect as it is changing, anitya hai, or is it dukkha if there is a pain, or it doesn't belong if there is an aversion, because we know that it does not, there is no control. But when you're talking about this, after understanding of anicca sanya, dukkha sanya, or anatta sanya, there is a basic understanding. Then now when I reflect and look at it, and if there is something which is impinging or any kind of a situation which is coming, it is, I don't know whether it is a practice or an intellectual. The immediate thing which comes to the mind is Sabbaloke Anabhirata Sanya, means it involves all these three aspects also. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I'm just trying to put it across.
In the beginning, we all start like that. We all have to start like that, remembering that this is it. But as the practice strengthens, you don't have to remember it. You naturally begin to see the world like that. You don't like it, absolutely. When it's simple, taking that word like in the proper sense, you just don't like it. I just don't like to go to mall. Clear, absolutely. And I don't have to think or reflect, because few experiences, whichever in last few years have been of that kind, which create that you feel good and then you get out, and by the time you get out, you have a headache. Better not go. If you can manage elsewhere, that's better. So it's a matter of practice and getting experience of that kind. Once you get that experience a few times, then you know it for sure. Isn't it? If you taste a particular kind of food, somebody says it's extremely good, you eat it, it doesn't gel with you. I'm not saying that is bad or something, but it doesn't gel with you. It doesn't, you don't find it good. Okay, again you would take once or twice, again 2-3 times. Then finally you say, no, it's not, doesn't suit me at all. Period, finished. This does not suit me. This type of tea does not suit me. That's it. I'm not saying it's bad. Please go ahead, have a nice tea. Not for me. That's it. That's just like that.
When you say change the way you look at the world, perception you need to change as such. So all the sanya, when we look at it, do we need to look at it from that point of view? I don't know if I'm making sense on that.
Did I use the word you have to change? I don't know. Maybe I have.
No, I mean,
what I meant was, because the words are important, as Professor pointed out. Na? The words कई बार ऐसे निकल जाते हैं. Maybe I have used it. I'm saying, in the light of understanding, the way you look at the world will change. In the light of understanding, the way you look at the world will change. In the light of your understanding, I repeat the same example, in the light of your understanding of toys, look at the world in toys in a different way. You don't have to think, I should not get attracted towards the toys. These are toys. These are childhood toys. I have grown up. I should not do it. I should not get. You don't have to think about it, isn't it? Or do you? Just say, yeah, that's okay. If younger sister or your daughter or somebody is playing, fine, okay, that's for her. No? You don't get attracted toward that because you've seen through that. You understood it. When children used to play at making sand, this is actually the sutta in the Tripitaka, the children playing and making sand castles. And then initially they would be extremely jealous. ये मेरी castle है, ये मेरा घर है, ये मैंने बनाया, ये मैंने बनाया. As they grow up, they make it and then all said, yeah, let us break it out. And then सबको तोड़ के चले जाएंगे. Because no longer that they understand it's all fun. It's not reality. There's no reality in it. There's nothing like mine and mine is better and it's all sand. There is nothing real about it. So you've given up that delight in those sand castles which you're making. And in some sense, in a very figurative sense, whatever we do in this world is like sand castles. Absolutely anicca.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
सर
Anything else?
सर विरागा सन्ना के बारे में थोड़ा सा सर एक्सप्लेन कर देंगे, कुछ समझ में कम आया है।
क्या
विरागा सन्ना?
विराग तो अभी मैंने डिस्कस किया क्या? नहीं किया ना?
नहीं किया सर, होता नहीं है सर विराग सन्ना, इसी में का पार्ट है।
सोमवार को करेंगे।
अच्छा अच्छा सर एक चीज और पूछनी थी सर, गरीमन ये ग्रीवानंद सुत्ता में
जी
ये कहा गया है कि अनिच्चा सन्ना बेस्ड ऑन 5 एग्रीगेट और अनत्ता सन्ना इज बेस्ड ऑन 6 सेंसेस। जो मैं सर समझ में आया, मैं इसलिए पूछ रहा हूँ कि गलती तो नहीं कर रहा मैं?
नहीं
बेस्ड है।
हाँ तो मैंने जैसे हाँ जी, तो व्हाट इज द क्वेश्चन? ये अलग अलग क्यों है, ये क्वेश्चन?
हाँ ये करेक्ट। और अनत्ता लक्षण सूतना में अलग डिफरेंट है।
हाँ वहाँ पे 5 खंड है। तो जैसे मैंने निवेदन किया था कि वो 5 खंड का तरीका या 6 आयतन का तरीका, दे आर इक्विवेलेंट एक्चुअली। 5 खंड में क्या क्या आता है? रूप, वेदना, संन्यास, ठीक है ना? और उसमें क्या क्या आएगा? आंख है, बाहर रूप है, और उन दोनों के आधार पे वेदना होगी, विज्ञान जागेगा और वेदना होगी, और उस पे इफ यू टेक इट फर्दर तृष्णा जाग जाएगी। तृष्णा इज अ संखारा, वेदना इज द वेदना देयर, एंड वेदना इज अराइजेस ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ संज्ञा। दे आर ऑल इक्विवेलेंट। बट एक तरफ क्योंकि हम बाहर के संसार के प्रति इंटरेक्शन कर रहे हैं, उसको ध्यान में रख के डिस्कशन, उस पैराडाइम को देख रहे हैं, उस तरीके को समझ रहे हैं कि बाहर से जो इंटरेक्शन होता है वो ऐसे होता है, इंद्रियों का इंटरेक्शन होता है। फिर जब अपने अंदर भीतर क्या हो रहा है, तो अपने भीतर 5 खंडों के माध्यम से देखते हैं कि मेरे भीतर वेदना जागती है संज्ञा के आधार पे, और संस्कार जागते हैं उसके रिएक्टिविटी के रूप में, और विज्ञान जागता है। दे आर इन सम सेंस, मैटर ऑफ स्पीकिंग एक्चुअली they are kind of internal phenomena, and rupa, saddha, they are external phenomena. No matter of speaking, actually they are not, but in these, from the point of view of understanding our conventional language, they are outside. So, उस sense में किया जाता है। They are both equivalent.
Both are equivalent. Thank you.
पूनम जी आप कुछ पूछ रहे थे?
हाँ जी, मैं पूछ तो रही थी, लेकिन सर मैं जिस तरह से इंटरप्रिटेट कर रही हूँ वो ये कि बुद्धा वाज एबल टू सी all the phenomena which we study, मतलब in different suttas, and he has given different means to handle your feelings, emotions, जो भी आपके अंदर उठ रहा है वो आप कैसे हैंडल कर रहे हैं। दिस इज व्हाट, चाहे वो हम गरिमानंद सुत्ते से पढ़ रहे हैं या फिर हम अनंत लक्षण सुक्ता से पढ़ रहे हैं, लेकिन जो एसेंस में जो बात कर रहे हैं वो एक है कि हाउ यू आर डीलिंग विद योर सेल्फ एक्चुअली। और फिर जो आपके इसमें आया है, जो भी आप में उभरा है, आप उसको आप पंचखंडों से देखिए, या फिर धातु से देखिए, या फिर आप अनिच्च
फोर नोबल ट्रुथ से देखिए,
हाँ जी, Four Noble
चार आर्य
Truths
सत्य से
लेके.
दूर.
So basically you are dealing different methods. He has given different methods to deal with your whatever is coming towards you,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. ठीक है, तो फिर
To be
हाँ जी,
able to do so,
हाँ जी,
to be able to you do so,
yes,
you have to have a proper understanding.
yes. So for that we need
This is the path of understanding.
अंडरस्टैंडिंग. तो
Yeah.
हमारे को कुछ करना वरना नहीं है. आई थिंक सो जो हम पढ़ रहे हैं, दैट विल make us understand the concepts.
Yeah.
Concepts basically, and whatever it will come, and whenever it will come, I will be able to see, okay, this has come. So there is nothing I'm doing actually. I'm just observing myself. There is nothing extra.
Practice has to be done. Na?
Yes.
When you understand anicca, dukkha,
This aspect.
one has
Yes.
to practice and see, you know. उसमें उसमें कहते हैं ना, अरण्यगतो वा शून्यागारगतो वा इति पटि संचिक्खति, then he reflects रूपम अनत्ता वेदना अनत्ता, जैसे हम चैंटिंग करते हैं ना मॉर्निंग में, रूपम अनिच्चा वेदना अनिच्चा. So this chanting has to be actually done. मतलब हमको वेरीफाई करना है साधना करके, आंख बंद करके देख रहे हैं अपने अनुभव पे, क्या रूप जो है अनित्य है, अनित्य है, सचमुच में है कि नहीं है, वेदना अनित्य है कि नहीं है, संज्ञा
तो
अनित्य है कि नहीं.
मेरा क्वेश्चन ये होगा कि
प्रैक्टिस है, दिस इज द प्रैक्टिस.
तो मेरे को माइंड में कंसीव करना है ना पहली चीज, फिर इसका मतलब ये हुई कि मेरे को पहले कंसीव करनी है वो कॉन्सेप्ट.
हाँ, वो तो पढ़ रहे हैं ना, अनित्य क्या होता है वो समझ रहे हैं, फिर अनित्य का अनुभव करेंगे.
एक सेकेंड सर. Till the time I don't understand the concept, will I not be able to will I not be able to see those things? Is that a thing? I mean, is that how it works?
आप बताइए, अपने अनुभव से देखिए. You don't have to ask
एक
me.
तो होता है ना, मैं recognize कर रही हूँ. There are many things which you do, but once you read and you think, oh ये तो मैं पहले से ही हो रहा था, ये तो पहले मैंने उसको कुछ नाम नहीं दिया या कुछ ऐसा वो नहीं किया, but it was there, but you are not able to relate or connect with anything. So will that be, something?
See,
is it okay kind?
The laws of nature are operating anyway, whether the Buddha arises or not. The laws of nature are operating, whether the Buddha arises or not. Phenomena are anicca, phenomena are dukkha, phenomena are anatta. And they have been happening to us. Even before we started practice, all these things have been happening to us. Phenomena have been happening, and they were anicca, dukkha, anatta, but we didn't know. We didn't look at it in that manner. It is the way of looking at it. We didn't look at it at that manner. जब सुख आता है और वो चला जाता था तो हम रोते थे, यार देखो कितना अच्छा था, इतना अच्छा था.
कभी-कभी हम अच्छा भी काम करते थे. नहीं सर, मैं तो अगर मैं बोलूं कि लॉ ऑफ नेचर के अकॉर्डिंग हम काम कर रहे हैं. पहले हम लोग
we are understanding laws of nature and trying to live accordingly. That's it. You can say that way, yes. We're trying to live accordingly. Firstly, we are understanding them properly, and then कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि उसके हिसाब से हमारा जीवन चले, ताकि हम नेचर के साथ हार्मनी में रहें. हम हेलुसिनेशन माना रहे कि जो चीज़ अनित्य है उसको नित्य मानना चाहें, जो दुख है उसको सुख मान रहे हैं, जो अनात्मा है उसको आत्मा मान रहे हैं. ये तो मेरा है, ये तो शरीर तो मेरा है, गुस्सा तो मुझे आता है, ये वेदना तो मेरी है, ये राग तो मेरा है, ये दान तो मैं दे रहा हूँ, ये एबिलिटी तो मेरी है, मेरे में एबिलिटी है. That's very crucial things. They're not easy to be able to say कि ये जो एबिलिटी है मेरी बोलने की या मेरी धम्मा एक्सप्लेन करने की, ये मेरी नहीं है भाई. Can you say it? And not just saying it from the mouth. Say it from the heart. It transforms you absolutely. If you have the clarity that there's no doer, there's no enjoyer, you're done. So these are very, very subtle things which we have to actually verify in our experience. Do I really feel कि मैं ये जो चैंटिंग करती हूँ मैं, या मैं करता हूँ चैंटिंग, ये तो मैं तो बहुत अच्छी करता हूँ, इतना बढ़िया चैंटिंग करता हूँ, आई हैव अ ग्रेट एबिलिटी. So this is obviously my ability. I am explaining Dhamma, it's my ability. I am very intelligent. My foot, you don't understand that. You don't understand that then. You're trapped, absolutely trapped. So we have to move towards that understanding. You can't accept my words and say, yeah, it's not my understanding. That doesn't matter at all. That doesn't help in any way. I have to get that feeling. I have to get that deep internal feeling. Yeah, it's true. That's it. Now, that is the insight. As our respected Ajahn Amro keeps on saying, Vipassana as a method and Vipassana as a change of heart. So we should not get trapped in the method. It should bring about a change of heart. Method is to bring a change in heart. And as long as that change of heart does not happen, we must practice, continue to practice. And as we practice more and more, some changes in heart, changes in perception, changes in way of looking at the world, they begin to happen. Then we look at the world with different eyes. Same world, we look at it with different eyes altogether. After all, if you have met Lumpur Liam when he came to Dhammarama, he was also looking at the same things which we were looking at. Isn't it? You're looking at the same things, but look at him. The same perception, things are happening, he's seeing them, but his response is absolutely different. So that's I mean, for me at least, has been a great inspiration, just to see him, just to talk to him. First time when I met him and talked to him, I mean, through Jan Kevli, obviously. Such a great inspiration. So what has happened? His way of looking at the world has changed. So that's what I mean by way of looking at the change. He doesn't have to remember which sanya I should apply. He's transformed. Anicca, dukkha, anatta have entered into his being. He's transformed. The world does not attract him or repel him, but he's constantly working. Constantly working. Doing something or the other which he feels should be done. So that's the advantage of coming in contact with such great beings. You see, yeah, that's it. So we have they give pointers to what is the direction in which we need to move as we practice. So if our practice becomes better, we know what does it mean. So that's the whole idea of these sannyas are basically methods of changing our outlook. They're all जिस चीजों को हम नित्य मानते थे अब कह रहे नहीं, ध्यान से देखो, खूब ध्यान से देखो, और ध्यान से देखो, गहराई से देखो, जो चीजें प्रिय लगती हैं कहते हैं और ध्यान से देखो, look at it more carefully, more deeply, see what's going on. Things which seem to be personal, ये एबिलिटी मेरी अपनी है, मैं बहुत अच्छा गाती हूँ, मैं बहुत अच्छा लिखता हूँ, मेरी एबिलिटी लिखने की बहुत अच्छी है, मैं बहुत अच्छा ट्रांसलेशन कर देता हूँ, मैं बहुत अच्छा बोलता हूँ, मैं बहुत अच्छा खाना बनाता हूँ. Look at those abilities. Are they your personal abilities? Look at, investigate. मैंने बहुत अच्छा काम किया, मैंने बहुत दान दिया. Look at it. Are you really the doer? So that's the way of looking at it. So that's why all these so many details we are studying. अब कोई कह सकता है इतनी सारी डिटेल क्यों पढ़ रहे हैं? इसलिए कि हमें पता ही नहीं चलता कहाँ फंस गए हम. What is trapping us we don't really realize. Only much later उसका असर जब क्यूमुलेटिव असर होता है तो अरे कहाँ ट्रैप होता चला गया. कुशलो धम्मो अकुशल से धम्म से हेतु बच्चे न बच्चों हो गया. कुशल काम करते करते उसका प्रॉक्सिमेट काज बन गए, हेतु तो नहीं, उपनिषद बच्चे न बच्चे. So we are trying to be more alert. That's all. All these sangyas are to make us more alert, more attentive.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for asking questions. It gives me a chance to reflect, improves my understanding. Thank you.
सर अभी तो और है. There's more.
हाँ, बोलो.
अनीश जी.
नहीं सर, मैं यही कह रहा था, ये जो एफर्ट है माइंडफुलनेस, जो जैसे अजान और लुम्पो कहते हैं माइंडफुलनेस, तो एक एफर्टलेस माइंडफुलनेस से ये सारे रहस्य खुलते जा रहे हैं. तो यू डोंट हैव टू मेक एन एफर्ट टुवर्ड्स इट. It's just being mindful and just being an observer. And
yeah, you can say so. It depends on what exactly one means by effortless mindfulness. Really, one is absolutely adept, then it will be effortless, naturally.
Yes, you see, the mind always tries to make an effort, but the whole idea and the whole game is to do nothing. You have to train the mind of being.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, you're right. You're right. I mean, unauthorized student, this is true, but it's not right, actually. You have to see it really. You have to actually do it, and you realize.
Yes. The practice is that. The practice, I mean, is that. I mean, like saying that I'm just. I mean, you have to sit on your cushion, do walking meditation. That effort is there in the walking. You're making the effort while walking, but there is that one sense of the mind which is the vinyan, or I don't know what to say. It's just, and then I think all these things, they start opening up. This inside.
If they open automatically, wonderful.
Slowly, no, I mean, it's not having. Then you will become arant, but I mean, you get these glimpses that okay, this is a dukkha and this is a anicca. And so for me, it's like when you're meditating or you're doing walking meditation, the way the mind jumps from one thought to the other. So I have no control over the whole mind. I mean, मतलब कि अभी तो मैं सोच रहा था ये, और suddenly ये सोच लिया, ये सोच लिया. तो मतलब ये mind भी मेरा नहीं है, और ये सारा change होता रहता है. So all the three things, they move simultaneously at the same time.
Yeah, that's true. One has to see, that
is the beauty of the mindfulness, that you're observing the mind and you're observing it, and these small insights are coming, and they're giving you glimpses. And
so you're not only observing, you're reflecting, you're seeing.
Yes, exactly. You're reflecting. We are not making it a technique. You see,
it's not just observation. One has to be very careful.
Yes.
It is a reflection on the experience. If you don't reflect on the experience, you'll get nothing. If you don't reflect on the experience, the mind is wandering away, you bring it back. Mind is wandering away, you bring it back. But you have to reflect, what is happening? And then come to the conclusion, oh, this is happening because the mind is not in my control. And mind is happening. But then you're supposed to bring it in control. We have a samadhi practice. So we practice samadhi. Bring it in control. And see, yes, I can do that. There is both the things. Attahi attano natho is also there.
Yes.
So you have to practice also to bring it under control. But we know there is a limit. You know that. So there is always a paradox in Buddha's teaching. At every stage, there is a paradox.
Yes.
You are asked to do effort and you are asked to relax.
Yes.
Asked to do effort, you are asked to relax. So you have to see where do you do. Your Sammavayamo, your Satipatthana.
Yes.
So just mere sati is not sufficient.
Absolutely.
All the 7 parts of the Eightfold Path are necessary. So we have to be careful about that, isn't it? So we have to see that the idea of bare observation is practically seen to be what it is. Whether it is really possible, and to make it really possible to move from effort towards effortlessness. We start from effort and move towards effortlessness as our atta bhava reduces, as our anicca becomes stronger, and sense of self becomes weaker and weaker. That will become when we have really developed that understanding that there is no I who is doing it. It's natural phenomena which are happening. And then what is the test? What is the test of it? As I mentioned, anicca test is that the praise and blame and things of that kind just don't matter to you. So that is the test. And we can check, is it so? Is it true about me? If it is not true, it means I have not really developed anicca. Dukkha, If I have developed dukkha, then surely these attractions of the world will fall down drastically. So I check up. क्या मेरे लिए संसार की attractions खत्म हो गए? नहीं हुए भाई. Okay, so I need to work more on it. Then anatta, if I have developed, then what is it? What is the test? That I see that nothing is really personal, nothing whatsoever. My doership, my enjoyership, so called. I mean, कहने में आता है ना, my craving, my मेरे में बहुत विकार हैं या मेरे में बहुत अच्छे गुण हैं. Am I able to really see that they are not mine? क्या सचमुच में मैं उसको अपना नहीं मानता? क्या सचमुच में मेरे द्वारा किए गए सत्कर्मों को मैं मानता हूँ प्रकृति द्वारा किए गए, मेरे द्वारा नहीं किए? सचमुच में मानता हूँ, कहता नहीं, सचमुच में अंदर से मुझे ऐसा लगता है. Then perfect, you're really, then you're on the way to become fully liberated, surely, no doubt about it. But we have to verify, we have to check up constantly.
सर एक इसमें एक पूछना चाह रहा हूँ मैं, जैसे आपने कहा you reflected, so the reflection is also a thought process.
Yeah, of course.
And it's the cycle of you have come into the thinking process again when you're reflecting.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Samma Sankappa is a part of the Eightfold Path.
Yes. And there also that I am thinking. Then there is an I that is thinking.
It's not necessary. It depends on how, to what extent.
Yeah, then you can. It's anicca comes there at the same time. I understand what you're saying, sir. It's beautiful. Yes. It's beautiful.
In the beginning, तो हमारे साथ आ ही रहा ही है ना यार.
Yes.
वो चलेगा.
I understand.
It will continue right till arahantship.
Yes, sir.
So, even anagami has a sense of I. You see, subtle sense of I is there. So we have a lot of journey to make. That's perfectly fine, no problem.
So one small, till yesterday when I was doing walking meditation, I was just concentrating on my footsteps. Today, with my footsteps, I started the respiration also. And I could observe the respiration and the footsteps, and the concentration was much deeper.
Yeah, certainly, surely. Then wandering of the mind will be very less.
Much less. And I just want to tell our friends also, you must do some walking meditation. It's changed my life a lot.
Yeah.
Walking meditation is a miraculous thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Good, sir. Good. Thank you very much.
Sir, can we take a few more?
हाँ, why not? मुझे कोई जल्दी नहीं है.
जी. Sir, विशाल जी कह रहे हैं, I don't know what exactly is the question, but वो कह रहे हैं कि एज और हेल्थ कंडीशंस के साथ कॉग्निटिव डिसफंक्शनैलिटी इंक्रीज हो जाती है. क्या इस पे कुछ can you show little light on it is what he's saying.
Yeah, you see, अगर ब्रेन में कुछ डैमेज हो जाए तो कॉग्निटिव डिसफंक्शनैलिटी भी हो ही जाएगी. तो उसको हैंडल करना काफी, वो ये एक्सपेक्ट करना कि मेडिटेशन से वो भी सॉर्ट आउट हो जाएगी, maybe a bit too much for it. I mean, it can, maybe it happens, but when the brain is the instrument by which the consciousness operates. So if the brain is dysfunctional, then it can create cognitive dissonance, certainly. There are very well-known studies of that kind. आज ही मैं राजेंद्र जी को बता रहा था, very well-known studies that if a portion of the brain is damaged, then the behavior of the person can change completely. And it's well-documented studies, because that portion of the brain is associated with, for example, emotions, or associated with feeling the bodily sensations. If that part of the body is damaged, person is not able to feel bodily sensations, and then he will be totally left in a world of his own. So उस तरह की अगर दिक्कत है तो फिर तो बड़ा डिफिकल्ट है.
सर उस तरह की दिक्कत नहीं है, लेकिन जैसे होता है ना कि एज के साथ या आपने थोड़ा टाइम पैसिव लाइफ जी है तो आपकी मेमोरी लूज हो जाती है, तो उसके साथ जो होता है ना कि अनईज आ जाती है कि अरे यार अब देख मैं ऐसे काम कर पा रहा था, अब मैं ऐसे काम नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ. या एज के साथ में जैसे जैसे मैं बड़ा होऊंगा तो हाउ आई विल सर्वाइव ऑन माय इंडिपेंडेंटनेस. सो मतलब दिस काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स दैट कि मतलब एक काइंड ऑफ अनईज.
Yeah, very true. It happens. Yeah, certainly it's true. And what is the reason? What do you think? The reason is we take the abilities personally, isn't it? If we take the abilities personally, तब तो problem होगी, दुख होगा कि मेरी इतनी अच्छी ability थी, अब मेरी ability कम हो गई. If you take it, yeah, it's a part of nature. पेड़ बड़ा हो गया, अब उसमें फल नहीं आते. बूढ़ा हो गया पेड़, अभी जिंदा है, मरा नहीं है, लेकिन फल नहीं आते, उसमें हिम्मत नहीं है इतनी. So that's okay. That's okay. So if my memory is fading, fine. I can use a diary and write down things if they are very essential. And if unnecessary memory is lost, it's very good. Futile things are lost. You know, I remember the example Lumpur Sumedo gives of his meeting with Father Bede Griffith. You know, he was a great Christian saint who used to live in India for a long time. He had an ashram in South India. Then he went to, when he became very old, he went to US probably. तो लुंगपुर सुमेध उनको जानते थे, उनसे मिलने गए. So what he told him, yeah, you know, finally somebody must have introduced himself. He said, yeah, you know, Sumedo, my all memory is lost. And what a great relief it is. I don't remember any damn thing. That's a way of looking at things. You know? It's a very, very great way of looking at things. So which means you understand that that's a part of nature. It happens like that. So what? So if we take our abilities personally, then the decay in those abilities will obviously cause us difficulty. So if one is a good meditator and practices properly, taking things in that order, then it's fine. And of course, if one is practicing meditation properly, the rate of decay is likely to reduce. That is a well-researched data about that. That rate of decay of the brain and rate of decay, because brain becomes, plasticity improves, which means a part of the brain, what function it was doing, some other part will start doing it. That's what is meant by plasticity. It can happen. That kind of a thing has been noticed also. So if one is a good meditator, then the rate of decay of faculties will fall down. But if one notices it very late, and then maybe not be easy to really come to terms with it. You know, it takes a very adept meditator like Bede Griffith ji, Father Bede Griffith, to say, oh, memory is lost, fine, that's okay. So it's a big relief for him. He says it's a relief that मुझे पुरानी चीजें, फालतू की चीजें याद आके परेशानी नहीं करती, ऑटोमेटिक थिंकिंग बंद ही हो गई है, मेमोरी नहीं रही तो क्या थॉट्स आएंगे. No, that's a totally different way of looking at life, isn't it?
Wow, sir. Thank you.
Rajendra ji. Rajendra ji, you want to ask a question? आपने hand raised किया. जी.
और अभी आपने फिर उस बात को डिस्कस किया.
थोड़ा माइक ठीक कर लीजिए थोड़ा.
अभी मेरी आवाज आ रही है आपको?
हाँ, अब आ रही है, साफ आ रही है. पहले थोड़ी साफ नहीं थी. हाँ, बोलिए.
तो मैं ये कह रहा था कि जो सती और समाधि के बारे में तो जब भी डिस्कशन होता है, तो जितनी बार वो होता है उतनी बार मैं कंफ्यूज हो जाता हूँ, क्योंकि मेरी जो सती है
जी,
करता हूँ, और मैं समझता हूँ कि जब सती मेरी ठीक हो जाएगी तो समाधि कोई मुश्किल काम नहीं. लेकिन समाधि पे फोकस करो और माइंडफुलनेस ना हो तो समाधि नहीं हो सकती.
नहीं, वो दोनों साथ साथ चल सकते हैं ना. आप सती का जो प्रैक्टिस करेंगे, वो आप अगर एक फोकस्ड एरिया पे करेंगे, मान लीजिए आनापान के माध्यम से इस एरिया में करते हैं, या वॉकिंग कर रहे हैं और पाँव के ऊपर जो फीलिंग्स हैं उसको देख रहे हैं, तो देन यू आर फोकसिंग ऑन वन पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट, है ना. तो सती और समाधि साथ साथ जागेंगे. बट अगर आप बॉडी स्कैनिंग कर रहे हैं तो सती तो पुष्ट होगी, समाधि उतनी पुष्ट नहीं होगी, क्योंकि माइंड स्कैटर हो रहा है. तो इसीलिए कहा जाता है कि सती और समाधि साथ साथ पुष्ट करने के लिए यू ऑब्जर्व द ब्रेथ एट ए पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट. यहाँ पे इस एरिया में मान लीजिए यू आर ऑब्जर्विंग द ब्रेथ गोइंग अप, गोइंग डाउन, गोइंग अप. Constantly mind wanders away, gently it comes back, gently it comes back. and then your sati also improves, samadhi also improves. Because all that you're doing, that's why this is called anapana sati, mindfulness of breath. You're being object of mindfulness is breath. So then both the things can happen hand in hand. So then,
तो मेरा जो समझना वो ये है कि समाधि के नींद के मैं किसी चीज का सहारा नहीं ले रहा हूँ। मेरा मन पूरी तरह से एकदम without any help from anything else, my mind is completely concentrated on nothing. That is what I feel. Samadhi.
no. That's not true. Samadhi always has an object. Nothing, so it will be the seventh jhana then. if your mind is concentrated on emptiness, it is seventh jhana. तो उसको अभी थोड़ा नीचे रहने दो. Focus on object. Yeah, you can get to emptiness meditation. There is a proper sutta, Chuli Sunyata Sutta, where Buddha asks, how do you meditate on emptiness? But that's a pretty high stage of meditation. We better focus on objects. We always start with objects. Kasina, some kammatthana is given. Some kammatthana is always given. It could be breath, it could be metta, it could be loving kindness, it could be karuna, whatever you choose. Or it could be a desk of various colors, it could be candlelight, whatever. Or mantra, buddho, or sensations here. But something has to be chosen as an object for concentration, because you're doing samadhi with a focused object. Once it is concentrated, then what happens? Wherever you apply the mind, it will stick. You want to study something, mind will stick to that. Because you're focused, you learned how to focus the mind on an object. Without object, करना तो बहुत मुश्किल काम है.
मैं कह रहा था कि जैसे सत्य पठान है, इस तरह का समाधि के ऊपर भी कुछ सूत्र है क्या अलग से जो ये बता रहे हैं ना, सती पठान से हट करके?
सती पठान में तो सती की बात हो रही है ना. It's basically practice. It is presumed that you have already developed samadhi in the Kayanupasana section by practicing anapana. When you practice anapana, उसमें anapana section है ना. If you practice anapana properly, you can practice anapana in order to develop samadhi and also in order to develop the wisdom. Panya और vipassana कर सकते हैं सांस के माध्यम से. But if you have to practice it for in the initial stages of the practice, when samadhi is not strong, then it is advised that you practice anapana with a focus on certain point.
जब हम कायानुपस्सना करते हैं और सांस को जाते हुए और आते हुए अपनी पूरी बॉडी को एक बार में देखते हैं एक ब्रीदिंग के अंदर, वो जो सती मैं कर रहा हूँ, तो उसमें मेरा माइंड पूरी तरह से उसके साथ जुड़ा हुआ है.
हाँ, but concentration उतनी नहीं बढ़ेगी, because एकाग्रता नहीं है. जब आप होल बॉडी अवेयरनेस करते हैं, वो तभी करते हैं जब आपकी कंसंट्रेशन पहले बन गई हो, नहीं तो नहीं होगा ठीक से.
अगर मैं मान लीजिए जैसे आप करें नासिका के नीचे में हाथ पे मैंने किया या नासिका के ऊपर मैं पिन पॉइंट करके मैंने किया और वहां पर भी मैं सती कर रहा हूँ, और जो मेरा
सती करना नहीं है, सती तो प्रैक्टिस है ना. सती इज द मेथड ऑफ फोकसिंग ऑन ब्रेथ. Breath is the object of mindfulness.
Right.
And we don't allow the mind to go anywhere else. When the mind is not allowed to go anywhere else, then it becomes samadhi practice. When you are allowing the mind to scatter around the whole body, then samadhi will not be so strong. So that's why we say whole body awareness should be done when samadhi is developed to a basic minimum level. Otherwise, you will not be doing it. वो नहीं हो पाएगा. होल बॉडी अवेयरनेस नहीं हो पाएगा अगर समाधि रीजनेबल लेवल की नहीं है. मन एकदम बिखर जाएगा. सो
नॉर्मली उसको हम करते हैं जब पहले हमने आनापान जो है जो नासिका के नीचे भाग में पूरा कंसंट्रेट करके, मान लीजिए मैंने उसको 15-20 मिनट कर लिया, उसके बाद बॉडी की स्कैनिंग करते हैं, तो वो हो जाती है, उसमें मन लगता नहीं है और फोकस रहता है.
Different people have different mental texture, हर एक के अपने अपने संस्कार हैं, अपने अपने हैबिट पैटर्न्स हैं, अपना चरित्र है. तो इट्स नॉट नेसेसरी कि वैसे ही करना और इसी तरह से करना है. Different people, somebody may find doing body scanning very easy, and you can do that way. But body scanning से जो समाधि develop होगी, definitely होगी, but it will not be focused, strong focused समाधि. अगर बहुत strong focus करना है, tranquility develop करनी है गहराई से, तो some element of एकाग्रता is necessary. एकाग्रता की जो बात आती है वो बहुत necessary है.
और एकाग्रता में ऑब्जेक्ट का होना बहुत जरूरी है.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
तो आप जब ओपन अवेयरनेस की बात करते हैं,
that should be done when your samadhi is strong.
You are saying open awareness is the third stage after sati samadhi.
Yes, if you have a stable samadhi, mind does not get carried away here and there, then you should practice open awareness, not in the beginning. No. You will not, mind will just wander away. Okay.